All right. Certainly so. A meditation you can repeat as many times as you require. Gathering from dominion, the light of chaos. If you'll remember in the meditation, as you gather more light, the chaos subsides. The light is for you, a gift from your future, from God Goddess. Part of your destiny is to gather that light and to imbue your world with it, with your presence. All right, and so we have some questions. John, who begins?
Francis. Oh, could have allow. All right, Francis.
Oh, John, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, Tara.
Where do we begin?
So, well, Tara, it was a very unusual night, Friday night, and I think it has to do with the theme. Friday night, I cooked some dinner, some steak, and was watching television, and I swallowed a very large piece of meat and couldn't breathe. And I just heard a kind of a weird sound, and it was getting dark. So I think I may have been dying. And I went over to my bed, laid on my bed face down, and stuck my head over the mattress. And it ended up working out. But it was a frightening experience, terribly frightening. And I wonder why I would allow something like that in.
So what's more important is what did you gain from it? What do you realize? What do you recognize now that is relevant, that is important to you? What matters to you?
Yeah, when I called for help, it came.
Yes.
My guides and my higher self were all there, and I asked for help. And within about 35, 45 seconds, laying on the bed, I was okay. I could breathe, and it went down. The food went down.
Yes, you had the help you needed when you asked for it. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It did affect me
Significant, isn't
emotionally,
it?
very much so. It did. The action did affect me emotionally for a couple of days. That was a remarkably scary thing because I did feel the darkness. I did feel like I was leaving, that I wasn't going to be alive anymore. And
what's
I just
important
kind of
about that? What's important to you about that experience?
about staying alive.
About
Well,
recognizing that you could go, but you didn't.
yeah. What's important about it? Well, there's a couple things to remember here. I don't think that I'm ready. I don't think I finished what I was here to do. And so I think my soul would not allow me to come back right now by accident, especially when I called for help. But I keep forgetting that yes, certainly that meat was way too big. I shouldn't have swallowed that. But I've had healing on my neck. I've had radiation on my throat, and I can't swallow what I used to be able to swallow. So I have to be more mindful about eating from now on. But I'm glad to be here talking to you now. I can tell you that.
Absolutely. We are delighted to have you here.
Yeah. Thank you. is there a part of me? I feel like I've gone through kind of a depression, and is there a part of me that does want to transcend?
Well, certainly each of you have an aspect that is from the more real, that is always there and is in fact such a delightful state of being that there are many times throughout your life where you think, well, wouldn't it just be easier if I exit? And then
It
you
could be. Well,
remember what you are here to do. You remember the difference you are making. You remember that you have a destiny of bringing all your lifetimes home.
well,
And
there's been 4 or 5 times in my life when I almost did pass over, and here I am today.
yes. So let's look at what that is, that being enamored with that doorway, with that exit plan. It's not a bad thing. It gets you in touch with what matters. It allows you to know, oh, I have a choice. Oh, I'm here by choice. I didn't remember that before. I thought I was a victim, or I thought I was unhappy, or what's the point anyway? But then you get to that juncture, that veil, and you realize, well, I could just step through. I could. I just have to ask and receive it. But if I do,
Tara, I think my choice is to have a much more elegant exit where I've been successful and I'm able to leave things with loved ones. To have loved ones around me when I do, my transition,
yes,
as my mother and father did, and I think that's the way I would want to leave. I wouldn't want to leave by an accident or an accidental choking or something like that. I just wouldn't want that.
wonderful. Yes. And
Yeah.
so as you allow as Lazarus recommends after every intensive, allow it to be real. What is more real? Well, what is more real is the choice to stay. That there are things you want to accomplish while you're here.
I've been listening to a pay-per-view, and the most recent one, and Lazarus says that all of us have been damaged and we're all trying to find a way to get our balance back. And I thought that was just me. And I thought it was through illness, but apparently Lazarus made a statement that said that we have all been damaged and are all looking to get a new kind of balance.
Beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you see, the old balance is the lesser self strategy to survive.
Okay.
So when things get tough, so to speak, in reality, you're moving along, things are going well, and then suddenly something happens that triggers you. Well, where do you go? Do you reach for the light, or do you reach for what worked in the past? The control, for instance. So
Yeah.
that's the old balance. Reaching for the control, the domination, whatever form it is for you. We're not saying you specifically, we're saying that all of you have a lesser self strategy. Each of you, it is your destiny to heal your child, to give your child a different reality in their reality, give your adolescent a different reality. And with that, you learn about your patterns of strategies that came from the child, that came from the adolescent, that you then carried forward into your adulthood by choice, you see. Now, Was it bad and wrong to do so? No, it was what you learned. It is how you survived. Along the way, you have made maps to heal the pain. You have made maps to heal the shame. You have learned about love and being loving. You have learned about creating a personal reality. And you are learning now about valuing yourself more so that you're available to co-creating. Truly co-creating reality requires valuing yourself, knowing your worth, the worth that is given, knowing that you are loved. And with that, standing in your value, connecting with higher self, with soul, with spirit, you're available to more, much more. That's where the magic really begins, where you begin to receive the miracles, where you begin to truly receive a magical reality, where you have an idea and it begins to manifest, where you have a thought and there it is, where you reach inside of yourself and say, this matters to me, and you begin to explore that, willingly receiving reality. And so, yes, each of you are redefining who you are being. Who are you? Are you reaching for the new? Or are you leaning back into the past? And so it's a dance at this moment. You're still exploring. Is the unknown safe? Is it a good place for me to go next? Or is it scary? Or is it what have I decided it will be? And can I clean that up and make it friendly and benevolent, beneficial? And as you're changing the backdrop of the past by working with your child and your adolescent, that is what changes the backdrop, you see.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The lesser self has new strategies to keep you safe. Does that help?
It does. I have one more question for you, if I may. And that is, I haven't really been on a date in 5 years, which is just the opposite of where I used to be. I used to date a lot when I was younger. In the last 5 years, so when I entered my 60s, I stopped dating. Is there anything holding me back, or are my thoughts and feelings stopping that reality from happening?
So in a sense, what you are observing is that you took a time out to redesign yourself, to discover
I see.
who am I really? And to love yourself more, to focus on healing and to change that past. It's what you've been focused on. So now you're coming out of that into the light and you're saying, wait a minute, where are the people? Where's the partnership? Where's the love interest? But you are new. You are a new, more real version of you.
Yes, I am.
You are more of who you truly are than ever before. And in this new resonance, as you go out into the world, so to speak, look to see, who are you attracting? What sort of energies attract you? You may find that they are different than before, or you may find that they are similar, but slightly improved, so to speak. You may find that now you're looking for tenderness and intimacy, whereas before it might have been, well, I don't really want an attachment, so I'm going to go with somebody who's also looking for that. But if you're looking to be in a long-term, loving, caring, intimate relationship, that's a different energy. And so to explore, well, what do I want? What I had before served me who I was then. Do I still want that version? It's okay if you do, but you want to be real about it. You want to be honest with yourself. And then you want to tell your higher self, I'm ready. This is what I want.
I noticed a lot of past relationships were women that were living through their adolescence. They were not, even though they had children and even some had grandchildren, but they weren't really solid adults. They were more adolescent, and that could have reflected who I was, So maybe I was more adolescent than adult. I don't know.
It's probably a good guess.
You think so? Okay. Very good.
But
Thanks,
also,
Tara.
but in addition to that, to recognize I didn't really want intimacy. I didn't want to commit to one person. For whatever reason, that's your own journey to decide what about it wasn't right. Was it a fear of intimacy? Was it just a sense of, well, I prefer to have variety. Variety is the spice of life, that sort of thing, which is completely valid. It's not, there's no judgment here. But when you begin to talk about, well, I want to find the right person who I'm going to be with for a long time, that's a different relationship.
Yeah.
And so you want to look to yourself, okay, in your dreaming of it, in your designing of it, okay, who do I need to be? What are the qualities I need to have? What do I value? When I think of somebody who's that way with me, how do I show up? What are my strengths that are already there? And which ones do I want to develop more of?
Yeah. As far as abundance, do I have a hidden fear? Is there a past lifetime that affected me about having abundance?
Not really.
No. Okay.
Not really. Well, we'll just give it we'll talk to the group about this. So where there's abundance issues, what do you have an abundance of? So you see, the universe is abundant by definition. The nature of the universe is abundance. Are you getting abundance in a positive way, or are you getting abundance in a negative way? So let's say if you have a lot of problems, or if you have a lot of bills, okay, I've got a lot of abundance. It's just not where I want it to be. I want to change the form. So what's your relationship to the abundance you do have? Well, I reject it, or I don't want it, or I say, not that, not that, not that, but I don't say what I want instead. So however you're interacting with the abundance you do have is the key. Meaning, do I have an ambivalent relationship to it? Do I reject it? Or do I welcome abundance? And I need to I just need to be more clear about what I want instead of what I don't want. Because it's so easy to react to what's so in the physical plane and say, not that, not that, not that. But that's not the same activity as pivoting and saying, I want this instead. I want this instead. I want this instead. I want this instead. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. Yeah. Thank you very much, Tara. I appreciate that.
Yes. Beautiful. We love you so.
Love you too.
Wonderful. All right. And Monica.
Yes.
Hello, beautiful Tara. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Thank
dear
you.
one.
Thank you.
Where do we
That
begin?
was, yes. Sorry to interrupt you, Tara. That was amazing, and I did go through a journey. Miracles were happening. I believe you saw what I was seeing.
Yes.
So, oh, okay. So maybe I'm over thinking, or maybe I'm just hallucinating, or not just in the reality factor. But I'm not sure this is really clear. Do I in the future present something? Um, I don't know. It could be mankind, humanity, or I I I I don't know if I got my intuition right on this because this is overwhelming.
All right. So let's reset with as you interact with the world rather than a very personal reality where you are dealing with individuals and people you love or people who you are getting to know. When you're dealing with the world, what you're dreaming is the most positive version of the world. And when you dream it, then what immediately becomes apparent is, well, this isn't it. So as you recognize that simply signals for you to gather more energy, new energy, to change your beliefs, to change your attitudes, to work with your thoughts and your feelings, but not for too long. It's still similar to what we encourage Francis with, is to reach for what you want. So where you say not this, okay, what do you want instead? So it upsets me when people are fighting. What do you want instead? I really want to feel peace and love and contentment. Okay, so you're going to take a moment to be in those energies. And we know that you know what we are saying because you are good at this. You are good at shifting your state of being. And so when you're in the new state of being, the positive one, allow it to expand and see it as a ripple effect coming from you so that it imbues your world. So you're not just impacting your immediate environment that you're measuring, that is immediate feedback about where you are at, but you're stepping out of that current resonance and you're moving into an expanded state, which we would call your future state, where you are heading. The qualities of who you are becoming are the steps to getting there. The steps to getting there are the qualities that you will be when you get there. So allow that expansive energy to flow out of you, to just dream that ripple as it extends to the far reaches of your universe. And then come back to now and go about your day and notice what is different. What has changed? As you say, you're noticing that you feel different about your reality, that there's magic happening. There are miracles that are happening. And as you focus on those and say, yeah, I want more of that, you will receive more of that. Does that help?
That's beautiful. Well, I just right now where I'm at, I need to change positively quicker to find because the winter's coming. Just want to ask for a blessing on that. I think you know.
Yes.
I know you know. I don't want to say it. Please. And I just would love to see clairvoyance more. I I'm trying to open it up more, or my gifts that I have, because
Yes.
I'm
Yes, absolutely. You are right on track. And that tech
and
that we just spoke of will work very well in opening up that third eye.
okay. I will keep doing that. And any messages maybe from Michael, or any. Yes, I know you're talking to us, but I know he's always like right in front of me, or near me, or any message that I need to refine my skill at this moment, Tara.
So the message is simply to love yourself more and to understand that the examples of love were not always perfect. And you do not have to accept those examples of love. That you can reach for the ideal of love. And in that resonance of unconditional love, you learn more about becoming more loving. So to just work with that energy.
Yes, Tara, on one more thing on the big project of starting to move here in the area, and I'm gonna expand it to all the states. I've been speaking of it, and I'm gonna be doing the method you explained to me because right now as I'm speaking, I'm feeling the change and love in my heart. I just want to like an update. Did those high important people are thinking about it, or they found it amazing, or because that's a big project for me. Just want a little cap on that.
All right. So what's important is actually you, the reality creator. And so when you think of the impact you're having, what comes up? So
Oh,
if you think of your impact and then you get anxious or you get fearful or doubtful, that's what needs to be released. Then you revisit it and say, okay, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to visualize me having positive impact, the most positive impact possible. And then you're going to see them receiving your project with harm to none, with elegance and ease. And then you're going to check in again. Okay, how do I feel now? Okay, well, I feel at peace. I feel joyful. I feel confident. Okay, that's where you want to be. That's where you want to get to each time. There's nothing wrong with when you first think of it that there's fear there or that there's doubt or worry. It just means you have to clear it out and choose to see what you want to see. Does that help?
yeah, a couple of things became clear as you spoke to me. I love you, and I thank you, and I appreciate and thank you.
Yes, we love you so.
Thank,
You're
thank you.
right on track.
Thank you.
Beautiful. All right, and who is next?
Next. Listen to me. Yeah.
Hi, Tara.
Yes, dear one. Where do we begin?
Well, I have a bit of a soap opera to describe. Um, so, at the Quaker meeting, the Peace and Social Concerns Committee, who I'm a member of, has a lot of very passionate people on this, for the Palestinians. And for 6 to 8 months, I keep saying, I think they're too one-sided. And we need to so if we have somebody come and talk about the Palestinian perspective, like maybe we should have someone come talk about the Israeli perspective. And I'm always shot down 100% of the time, 100%. And like, I'll have these conversations offline. I'll sit with the head of the committee and she'll just say, no, like I'll do it in the room with the group and then I'll like go offline and just talk to her one-on-one. And so I've like, I'm just kind of like, okay, fine. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to let them do their thing. So, you're appointed to the committees, at least it's either 1 or 3 year terms. I'm not sure which, but I'm like, so I go to the meeting. I'm not resentful. I'm just on a different path than these people. But I've been feeling more and more troubled as the meeting, the thing I love about the Quakers, I think I've talked to you about this before, is that historically they are in dialogue with both sides of a conflict. And I think that's their superpower. But right now, that's not what they're doing. They're really piling on to the Palestinian side. And they like to use, genocide and apartheid and whatever, and all these things that trigger Harry and have him withdraw. And so last week, I decided to meet with the co-clerk of the whole meeting and just say, I think the Quakers, and it's not just our Quaker meeting, but like our national um, aid organization is led by a Palestinian American right now, and she's really, really one-sided, which is not what we're supposed to. The Quakers are, and like it's all the Quaker organizations. And so I met with the head of the co-clerk of the meeting, and in the meantime, for a couple months now, the Peace and Social Concerns Committee has been trying to draft a statement for the meeting to make an official statement on our position on Israel and Palestine in the current war. And we've presented drafts to the whole meeting. And I've always stood up and said, I don't like these words. I don't think they're helpful. I don't think we should be using genocide and da da da. But so Quakers operate by consensus. And so when you can make a statement, but then stand aside, or you can make a statement and say, I stand firm with this, and then the meeting can't move forward. So when I make my statements, I'm very nice about it. And then I say, but I'm willing to stand aside if that's what the group wants. So I don't throw everything, like put my foot down. And what I realized is nobody hears me, so the head of the co-clerk then went back to the people drafting the minute. And they said, I met with Helen and she really thinks the language is wrong. And then I get this surprise email, like, you've never said anything. And I'm thinking, I always say something. I'm always saying this. And so the co-clerk asked me to show up on Sunday. And then last week, Harry and I happened to have dinner with somebody else from the meeting. And I just happened to mention to them, oh, by the way, I'm meeting with the co-clerk for coffee because I'm kind of concerned that the meeting's too one-sided. And this person's like, oh my gosh, good luck with that. Because there's a lot of people at the meeting who feel this way. And when we talk, we get squashed. And so we feel like we can't say anything, which is so unquakerly. And actually, he once stood up months ago in the meeting and said, I don't think we should be using the words genocide, da, da, da. And somebody else in the meeting on their Facebook said he's not Quakerly and he should leave the meeting, which I've never heard of. And so now I'm realizing I think this is a bigger issue and I'm feeling much more strong about it. So in the end, these people are drafting this minute and I'm not giving them any feedback because whatever feedback I get, they always ignore. So why should I read it and why should I give them feedback? But I go to meeting, I stand up and state what I want. And sure enough, 2.5 hours of conversation and other people pop, like there's a lot of people that pop up and say, they're passionate and this is what's going on with Palestinians is wrong. Da, da, da. But then there's actually people who stand up and say, we're really uncomfortable. We don't think we should be more, unbiased. And then there's this one Quaker meeting, you get a lot of Jews and Catholics that come. And so there's this one Jewish guy who's not been paying any attention all these months. And he finally realized it. And he's like, I cannot stomach this and I cannot stand aside. And so he is the one that says, no, we can't. Like, no, I absolutely no. I'm willing to leave the room, but I will not, I can't abide by this, which has been my whole point. You can't be in dialogue with this guy. You're shoving him out the room. So in the end, I say I volunteer Harry and I to take a stab at like tweaking this thing. And I feel like I've left and everybody hates me. I mean, I just feel disliked by, like all of these passionate people who are passionate about Palestine are now really mad at me. I can see that they're mad at me. And interestingly enough, when I talk to Harry on the phone, because he's traveling for work, he's just cranky and angry that there's been this document floating around all this time. And so, yeah, he thanks me, but he's just mad. And he's just, all these people are mad. And then today I get this nasty email from the author of this thing, and I feel like I've mismanaged the whole thing because I'm obviously out of alignment with peace and social concerns. I show up every time we have a meeting. We have monthly meetings, and but I'm obviously speaking in a way that nobody hears me. And so I just let them do their thing. And so I feel like what I was saying on Sunday, I wasn't saying anything as a member of peace and social concerns. I was saying saying what I said as a member of the meeting. And I think he was shocked. They were all shocked. And so, and I've noticed there's other times when, like I'll say things to Harry over and over again about something that matters to me, and he just can't hear me. Like, because I'm not yelling at him. And I think that's part of it, is I haven't been yelling at anybody. And I've also noticed, like we have this gardener who in the end, we paid so much more money than we should have. And I finally fired her. But, I finally fired her after she overcharges by like, 20, 30, maybe even $40,000. And I sat down with her so many times and told her how I wanted to work differently, and we would just always end up finishing the conversation where she just didn't listen and felt she's as valuable as she was charging us, and I was completely unheard. And so there's all these things that are coming up in my mind, like, why do I speak in a way that there's this consistent thing where people aren't hearing me even when I really care about something? Like, I feel really bad because this guy who drafted this statement really thinks I sabotaged him. And I feel like maybe I should have resigned from the committee months ago, but I was fine with them doing their thing. And me, I started reaching out to the local synagogue and doing things that I think will help on this topic. But then I'm completely out of sync with them. So am I being inauthentic to the committee, or, like, anyways, that's the soap opera.
All right. So to just reflect back what we believe you're dealing with is that to be heard equals you have to agree with them. To look in that arena. So as long as you're not dissenting or contrary, everything goes well and you believe that you're being heard because you see you're all in agreement. But when you actually test the waters with something you disagree about, you find out that, oh, nobody really listens after all.
No, I always knew they weren't hearing me. I knew the piece. I knew I was stating my opinion. They disagreed, and I just kept my mouth shut. And I'm like, fine, I've said what I've said. And so, no, I always knew we're out of sync. But it was okay with me. I was fine with them doing their thing. I didn't feel like I needed to quit the committee. And I just did my own, like, I moved forward with my ideas about going to make connections with the synagogue, and which I thought could help more. But I wasn't saying to them, we're in a competition and my way is better than your way. I'm just letting them do their thing. But I did feel increasingly uncomfortable. And once I realized it wasn't just Harry that was feeling, like there's a wall there, but then I realized there's other people in the meeting, and it doesn't seem like the way I've grown up with Quakerism is being practiced. I stated it as a member of the meeting, not as a member of the committee. And I just think they weren't listening to me because I wasn't yelling at them. I just think I stated my opinion and we're all being nice. And they said, okay, fine. And they kept moving forward with the way they wanted to do things, which means maybe I should be out of the committee. Maybe I should resign. I don't know.
It is a possibility. Because you have to come clean with yourself as to what are your expectations. What do you desire, imagine, and expect? And at the moment, what's showing up when you do that is, well, they don't listen to me. They don't value my opinion. they're not, they don't understand that I need to be heard. So what's popping up is what is not a resonant match for who you're becoming. So if you put it in that context, so you're becoming more solution oriented, you're more in action, you're showing up for the future you want to create. You want a solution, you want to understand better the issues that are at hand. So is participating on that committee valuable? It might be. If it is, stay on the committee. But if it, even as a contrast, it can be valuable. Just knowing what people are thinking about the topic can be valuable. But if it's not adding anything, then as you say, well, I found greener pastures over at the synagogue. I have more impact. I'm understanding the topics better. I'm making more progress, you might say. So now leaving the committee is not the same decision as leaving the Quaker organization, is it?
No. Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep going to meeting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it really just becomes a question of, well, if my voice doesn't really have impact here, how useful is being on that committee? We're not saying it isn't valuable. We're just saying you have to decide if it is. And if it's not, what would be valuable? Otherwise,
And
because you only have so much time.
right.
And so is that a good use of your time? Now,
Yeah.
we would suggest that no matter how you spend your time, it's your energy that leads. You have impact. You're always bringing your light and your love, and that has impact. However, there comes a time when you want to receive back, where you want your illusion to feed back to you. Hey, my light matters. My love matters. And if that's not being reflected in that committee, then we would suggest, are you valuing yourself by being a part of that? Without going into self-pity or martyrhood about it.
Right.
Because you're creating the reality. You're creating the feedback. So you can go back to the adolescent who needs to belong and wonders what's wrong with her, but you don't, as a spiritual adult, that's not the issue here. This is about me expanding. This is about me becoming more. And this is the resonance shake out. What shakes out? What isn't a resonant match for who you're becoming? Does that help?
Yes. I mean, I think there's two things that I am wondering, there's a couple things. One is, is there something wrong with me yeah, I get that. Is something wrong with me that people aren't hearing me, or is it just, they're just focused on their way and
So you always want to bring it back to, okay, that's a familiar theme.
Right.
So that's the lesser self surviving. See, when you're completely okay with speaking up and then they'll do what they do with the information, which is most of the time, that's you the more. Well, I've said my piece. It doesn't really, if it mattered enough, then I would say it with more intensity, or as you did, you went, I want to talk to somebody who can make a difference here. I'm going to go to another person. The co-chair.
The co-clerk of the meeting. Yeah.
So you went to a different person. Now that created friction. Wait a minute, Helen, you're not following by the rules. You should just keep this all quiet and not make waves. Why? As you said, it wasn't effective. I'm doing something different. So you the more is doing something different. Now, is it going to work? Maybe, maybe not, but it's something different. Now, are there consequences for moving outside of what the consensus thinks you should do? Yeah, of course. There's a resonance shift that happens. It creates chaos, a little bit of chaos. It's uncomfortable for people. They will react differently depending on whether they get the result they want or not. But you knew going in, you're asking them to do something that they don't want to do. No, it's easier for us to just focus on the Palestinians and helping them. They don't want to make it complex. It's a complex topic. How do you create a win-win when both sides have very strong positions? I don't know. I'm just going to pick a side. That's what the world of duality does. That's what the chauvinism tells you to do. Pick the winner, pick the winning side, and just put everything on that side. Or the Americans love the underdog, so pick the underdog and help them succeed. But it's not a solution. It doesn't lead to a win-win, does it? And as you've been dreaming a reality where there's a win-win, and you're actively engaging in, can we create a win-win here? They're looking at you like, what are you talking about? That's not even an option. But your job is to continue to reach for it. Your job is to say, okay, we're not there yet in the consensus. I'm going to withdraw a little bit. I'm going to rethink who would be most effective to engage about this. I'm not going to give up on my dream because I'm making a map. I'm pulling in new solutions from the unknown. They don't exist yet. So it makes sense that the world is telling you it doesn't exist yet. But your response shouldn't be to try and convince them, hey, it does exist, you just haven't found it yet. They're telling you, your illusion is reflecting back, there's no solution yet. Go back to dreaming it. Go back to pulling in from energies from the unknown. Work your magic. Ask for miracles. Invite your unseen friends to assist. To fill yourself up with that resonance so that you can begin to see the solutions. It's okay that they don't have it yet because you're busy dreaming it. And one of these days, the solution will come. But it takes your strength, it takes your commitment, it takes your focus. It takes your authority, your authorship, your dreaming the dream. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that can sound like I'm all alone. But you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
You are, from the personal reality standpoint, yes, you're the reality creator. You alone are 100% responsibility for your manifestation. But you're not creating it alone. Your unseen friends are working their magic. And the conversation should be with them saying, hey, we're not there yet. What's up? When are you going to bring me? When are you going to deliver the goods? And they're going to say, well, what do you want? What are you focused on? Well, I'm focused on the fact that they tell me there's no solution. So what do we want to do? Oh, we should dream some more. We should gather more energy. We should spend time in dominion. As you did in the meditation this evening, gather from dominion to reduce the chaos. So you're right on track. Now, your logic, the lesser self wants to explain why it's not working. Guess where it's going to go for its rationale? It's going to go to the past. Well, it's because nobody listens to me. It's because nobody likes me. It's because whatever the adolescent had going on or whatever the child suffered from. Because that's the book that the lesser self reads from. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't serve you to explain from that book. There's a new book, a new script that the more works from. That's it. Oh, there's more to do. Oh, there's more energy together. Oh, I've shifted my focus. I didn't realize it. I need to pivot. That's in the new book, you see. Recognize, acknowledge, forgive, and change. Recognize, oh, I'm buying into it again. I'm just trying to make sense of it. And all I have as information is my old script. Acknowledge, okay, I did that. I shifted my focus. I made that meaning. It was so automatic. I didn't realize it was me. I thought it was them. I can forgive myself for having done that. It's a well-worn pathway. It's easier. It's easier to go down that road. But the problem with it is then I look like I don't create my own reality. I forget that I do. I start thinking I got to fix what's out here instead of changing what's in here. It's a tricky thing, this reality creating thing. So you recognize, acknowledge, forgive yourself for doing it one more time. It's okay. It's gonna happen. It's automatic. It's the automatic. It's the survival. But when I forgive myself for it, I'm open to something new. In that instant, it's okay. It's not who I am. And I have access to resources that the lesser self didn't have, doesn't have. You the more is connected to something more, to your higher self, to your soul, your spirit, to God and Goddess. And there are opportunities to create a beautiful, optimal future in Dominion. Totally different game board. Not yet the one you're in. It's okay. You are all dreaming it. You're changing yourself first. It's a work in progress. And so to have that humility, it can be different next time. Meaning in the next moment. We don't mean in years from now. We mean in the next moment. It can be different. That's the function of humility, recognizing that it can be different. And understanding, a moment ago, I didn't think so. I had the thought, this is the way it is. And that is an indication of a belief that doesn't serve you anymore. So the belief that nobody listens, my voice doesn't matter. That's a belief. It was the way your child made sense of reality when she wasn't heard. It doesn't work for you the more. It doesn't work for the spiritual adult who's taking responsibility, who's standing in her authority. Your voice matters. your voice is one of the ways that you have positive impact. And as you let that in, oh, I got to work on what I think my voice is capable of. And I got to clean out all that garbage where people don't like to hear my truth, or they just don't hear me. I'm invisible. I'm silent. I say a bunch of words, but they don't hear it. That's what needs to be cleared out. The belief that your voice doesn't have impact, doesn't matter. Because that is not a resonant match for who you're becoming. So you're going to leave that at the door. And you're going to replace it with something more empowering. Such as, my voice has beautiful impact. My voice is a vehicle through which I know I matter. It's an expression of grace. It's how I flow my love and my light into my world in a more tangible way. And that is important. And I can make the map for others. Does that help?
Yes. Another question I have is, so this meeting dragged on for hours and hours yesterday. We probably spent 2.5 to 3 hours mostly talking about this. And and I was asked by the co-clerk to, really weigh in. And so I stood up like 3 times. I, was really trying to be very clear and say things very loudly and emphatically. And, and what I said did matter. It made a big difference in what happened at the meeting. And I've been completely exhausted since then and just feeling a little just out of balance. And I was just wondering, is that because, whether I agree with how other people think we should speak and the words we should use or how they talk, I think the intention is loving and beautiful and wanting better for the Palestinians. And is it just like maybe there's so much pain in the room and I was taking in other people's pain, and I tried to ground it like I was walking in the forest with Jasper today. And I tried to like actually imagine all the pain in the room flow through me into the ground, into the earth, and then have a shower of like love and compassion fall on, like bathe everybody that was in the room. Is that like why I was tired? Is that like it wasn't my pain and I just hadn't like processed it properly? Or I just don't know what, I was just completely discombobulated and out of it.
So we would suggest that all of that you did was effective, that you did release it, that you did fill yourself up with something new. However, your adolescent needs some time with you.
Okay.
The not being heard or the not being welcomed to speak is her hot button, so to speak.
Gotcha.
So as you sit with her, and you do that while we're talking with the next person in this beautiful group energy that supports who you are becoming, as you sit with her and let her know these meetings, they're not for you to deal with. What do you want to do instead when I'm at these meetings? What would be beneficial? What would be beautiful? What would be wonderful? What would be enlivening? How does she want to express herself and have a voice? And let her have that in her reality. Because when you first began, that sense, I don't feel like I should almost feel like I shouldn't say anything. I'm just causing trouble, or I'm just making people uncomfortable, whatever. That was not your spiritual adult speaking.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so once she's taken care of and your higher self is there with her and your higher self is there with you, you'll find that your energy will return. Beautiful.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
I have this idea, and I've been going into meditation just very briefly a couple of times, but historically, you can get peace treaties when the war hawk is in power. And I was thinking, Trump, he always wants to beat the Democrats and the liberals and the da, da, da. And I was thinking what would really piss off the Democrats is if he got a Nobel Peace Prize. And so I've been whispering into his ear in the imaginal realm, if you create peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis, you could get a Nobel Peace Prize, and that would really piss off Obama and the Clintons. And, maybe you should try and create real peace. Is that like a good idea?
Well, it's entertaining. What you really want to focus on is seeing that piece completed.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much the how it got there, but that it's done. Now, to your credit, you're taking the information you currently have and saying, hey, this is possible. This is in the range of possibility.
Yeah.
So you're not acting as though he doesn't exist or that he somehow gets taken out of power or whatever in the future, but rather you're saying, well, if he's going to be there, I might as well incorporate him. And that is to your credit, because then what you're also giving your subconscious and your unconscious the message is the peace can happen soon. In my reality, I'm willing for it to happen quickly. And so as you say this or something better, with harm to none, with elegance and ease.
So it's not because to me, for Trump to get the Nobel Peace Prize, it would be for peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis. There'd have to be real peace. And so as I imagine him with the Nobel Peace Prize at the podium making the speech, the acceptance speech, then it's gotta, it would have to be, in the next 4 years. And
indeed,
I don't know. But that's not
so have fun with it and then release it.
Okay.
Knowing that your luminous intent is for the peace.
Gotcha.
That's really the real deal. You don't really care whether he gets it there or not. That's for entertainment.
Okay. I do think it's fun.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. We love you so. All right, John, who is next?
Let's see. Henry, then Raina. Raina has a question.
Hello, Tara.
Yes, dear one. Where do we begin?
Thank you for the meditation. I did get a good idea of the feeling of, which was great. And I think repeating that is going to be really, really good for me. I had an odd day today. For several hours this morning, trying to get up, I was just asking my higher. I didn't want to get up and didn't want to do anything, and asking my higher self, giving my higher self permission to intervene, and then they're saying, well, just make a choice and get up, and it's always good to leave your room as soon as possible to get in to the outside, and I was just going, no, I don't want to. I'm not going to. I'm not getting up. and just being completely stubborn. And we kind of went on that way for quite a long time. And
so what was important about being in control of that?
Well, what I realized out of that was that what I've been doing a lot recently, and is is just doing the opposite of what everybody wants me to do, and that's one thing that's and I know that comes out of Lazarus told me that I can hold a resonance like 60 foot, like a tent pole, um, but I tend to use it in a negative way. Um, and I was just thinking, so I was asking my help as well if he could help me just shift it. That I needed just to shift this stubborn resonance into something, uh, into the opposite of it, holding a resonance of something fine. And then again, I said, he just saying, "Well, just make the choice." and and I'm saying, just just being totally stubborn and getting worried about the fact I'm being stubborn, and then thinking, I well, don't care. And then when I finally did get up, I've been bouncing between, I can do this, I can do this, I want to do this, I want to make my reality work, and then the next bounce is, I can't do this, I don't want to make my reality work, and that's been happening between kind of 5 minute, 10 minute intervals, and I think it's all the same sort of thing, but. And I think, like you mentioned the control. Yes, you mentioned the control. You mentioned the control to Francis too. About, I mean, I think it's just things are getting denser, and so I just want to control it more and more. But also just getting so angry about everything, you know, and feeling the anger, actually feeling the anger, which I hadn't, and feeling the stubbornness, which in the past I haven't really felt it, but I feel a lot more so.
Wonderful. So there's an intensity in there
There
that
is,
that you're gathering. Now,
yeah,
at some point, you're going to want to transform the intensity into something productive, something. So productive meaning that you learn something about yourself. So you did
yeah,
learn something about being stubborn. You felt that rebelliousness, you felt that connection with higher self, and the disregarding the input, because you have free will. That is the highest priority.
yeah,
Your higher self is aware of that. There's nothing your higher self will ever do to override free will. So if on the one hand you ask for interventions and then you negate it with free will of I don't want to, that is free will, by the way. I want to, I don't want to. I
yeah,
will, I won't. All of those are expressions of free will.
yeah.
Anytime that you say I, it is an expression of your free will.
Mm,
And so it's important to recognize and value that about yourself, that hey, today I had an experience of my free will. I had an experience of what I am willing to do or not do. I am willing my reality into being. Now there's a part of me that's censoring me. There are two voices. There's the voice of what I am willing to do or not do, and then there's this other part that says, well, we really need to get going. We really need to get up and do something. So as you recognize, that's the voice of the things you don't want to do.
yeah,
That's actually the critical parent voice, isn't it?
yeah,
And so when you recognize, well, actually what I really want is to be here now.
yeah,
I don't want to go do something for doing's sake. I really just want to be. And the way it showed up was higher self, help me get my get myself in gear. Help me do the right thing, quote unquote. And so your higher self guided you. Well, it's really just a choice. You can
Yeah.
choose to get up or you can choose not to get up. And that opening had you become more clear. I just want to stay here. And when you let yourself know that that means I just want to be. I just want to be.
Mm.
And had you given yourself that word instead of I'm being stubborn, I don't want to do whatever I'm supposed to do, rather than going down that road and just say, no, I really just need to be. I need to be and create that space. I need to activate my feminine energy and create a space for what I want next. What do I want to fill it with next? I want to fill it with good feelings. I want to fill it with joy, with beauty, with love, with compassion, with fun, and many other things. But when you're just thinking, I got to get up and go do what I'm supposed to do, there's no magic in that. There's no mystery. There's no miracles. There's nothing inspiring at all, is there?
No.
And so as you let in, oh, okay, I thought I labeled it as stubborn, but now if I label it as being, now I actually have something interesting to do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now I might desire, imagine, expect something totally new, something outside the bounds of what I should do. And that voice recedes. And what replaces it is the you, the you the more begins to say, oh, well, what if we create this today? Or what if we create that? Or why don't we just be here for a little while longer and simply explore in imagination? Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. I can see that.
Yeah. So while you thought it was bad and wrong, so to speak, the truth of the matter is your inner self knew what you needed. I just need to be here. I need to reject the routine of this is what I should be doing. Now, you did in that context also listen to your higher self. Higher self had a wonderful idea, choose. Except you thought it meant choose to get up or not get up, but actually choose.
Yeah. Whatever.
Create something new.
Right.
But I can imagine it first. I don't have to rush into it. I don't need to get in action yet. I can just be. Even see, in the being state, you can stretch time. You can actually, in 2 or 3 or 5 minutes, experience an hour. Because there is no time in imagination. And so as you allow that to be possible for you, oh, well, I got plenty of stuff to do, but you know what? I'm just going to be for as long as it feels good. And then I'm going to get up. Because then I will be inspired in my actions. And that's so much more fun. Make sense?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Wonderful. All right. What do you say?
Can I ask you a bit more about that? So the thing I've done is I committed myself to being in a play, a couple of short plays that need that we're going to have rehearsal, and I don't really like doing rehearsal anymore because um, I've done so much cold that um, it's much more exciting just to have a little bit of rehearsal, perhaps. But and I think you get better results. And then when it came down on Saturday that I've got like 4 days of rehearsal for 3 weeks, and then a week of every day leading up to the 2 performances, or 3 performances that we're doing. And I just thought, I don't want to do that. But I wasn't able to. I discussed it with a friend who's in it as well. And there's something telling me, but this could be, this could be good for you. And I'm thinking, well, just in terms of kind of some sort of discipline, I suppose. But anyway, the thing is, just tell them that you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it that way, and they can get somebody else. And I haven't done that. And I'm just thinking, oh, I don't want to do this. But tonight at 6:30, I'm going for the first rehearsal, and I'm thinking, well, it's kind of late to tell them now, but
well, we would agree with the part of you that says maybe I can create an exciting event. Maybe there's my future self has a different reason than I think
yeah,
for having me in these rehearsals.
yeah,
Maybe it's not so much about reading the script over and over again. Maybe there's some magic that's there to be created. I'm arriving with my resonance.
right,
I'm bringing my light and my love.
right,
And maybe my higher self, my soul, my spirit, my future self have some fun in store for me. And this is the avenue I'm giving them.
yeah,
Now, when you get there tonight, if you find, I've really got my lines down, I don't really see the point of me being here.
yeah,
Well, you can bring it up then.
yeah,
And as you say, at this point, it's really just a thought. It's a concept. I don't
yeah,
like the idea of all the practice, the rehearsal, the time, the commitment. But as you make it about something other than that,
yeah,
as you make it more about, well, what magic can I create? What miracles? Whom I might meet somebody new there. I might get some ideas for my next project. I might make a connection for what is next.
right.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and it's an expansion of me thinking, well, there's obviously a reason this has come up in this way, and we're like everything, and
And you will have a chance to give your input. If after the rehearsal today you say, that's a whole lot of practice. Is that really needed? Can we all weigh in on whether that's the best use of all of our time?
yes, and with my friend Marcia, who's going to be in a couple of plays with me. Yeah, we were talking about that. She's done one of these before, and we were talking about we can just say. I mean, we've worked together so much. I mean, it just kind of comes like that, and it's good, and we explore all sorts of things. So I think I can reduce that amount of time too, but also looking for really what it's about. I was thinking it was see, I was thinking it was about me having some discipline. Okay, so you need to have some discipline, and it actually comes out of, but as you're saying, I mean, just not about well, you've got to do this, Henry, in order to move forward. It's about finding the magic. I
Yes,
had
yes.
a
You don't want to buy into the adolescent story of
yeah,
it's about the discipline. It's about being
mm,
punished in a way.
yeah,
In order to have what you want at the end of it, which is the performance, well, you have to suffer a little bit along the way. So as you just let that go, okay, that was there immediately. I don't have to play that out. I don't have to buy into that. I can let that go.
yeah,
And I can, just as Helen needs to spend a little bit of time with her adolescent, go spend a little bit of time before practice on the way there or whatever, getting ready. You don't have to be at this practice. What do you want to do? What would be
Oh,
fun for you to do so that you, the spiritual adult, are available for all the magic, you see? Because that discipline is about the adolescent, not about,
oh, yes,
not
I
about
see.
the adult. So
Yes, I see.
as you differentiate his voice and give him a fun thing to do, whatever he wants, he's going to tell you.
Yeah.
He may want to come along, but if he does, it'll be in his reality, not in yours. Make sure he stays in his reality where
Yeah.
he has all the freedom to create what he wants.
Mm,
Because he can't create anything in yours. He can interrupt it, he can impact it, he can give his 2 cents, but it's not his to do that for.
yeah.
So it's important to with him say, what do you want in your reality? And to allow him to explore that and remind him that's what there is to do for him.
Right. Well, there was something similar. I mean, I guess it's been a theme of the week that I had a session with Julian and Dolores, um, and we were basically talking about money, and um, in a way. But like my overview of what it was about was they were saying yes, and I'm just thinking that I was thinking that yes, you need to plan your day so that you have time in your day when you're doing the things that earn you money and make it fun um, and then make sure you've got other parts of the day when you're doing the other things that you want to do, as opposed to it all tends to kind of mix together. And I don't want to do anything to do with the money or doing the websites or any of those sort of things. I mean, we've talked about that. Then I have been coming up with some ideas about other things, but um, but again, I was kind of yeah, I haven't been looking after myself very much, so very well recently. And but after that, in fact, although I was feeling, oh, it's all about discipline again, isn't it? I mean, it's the same thing, isn't it? That I did find myself thinking, well, I need to do that for myself, and I need to do that, and a bit of that, and then I just noticed my sense of humor came back in a big way when I've been talking to people, and
Wonderful.
so yes, it's yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. We love you so. All
Thank you.
right. And John, we believe we are complete for the evening.
Let me check. Raina, are you still not interested in asking a question, or did you change your mind? Where do you stand?
I'm okay. I'm not really comfortable to share publicly, but thank you very much.
7.3 inches there. This one is one.
All right.
Oh, okay.
All right. And so we'll go for
Wait,
now.
Tara, do you mind if I ask a quick question?
Yeah, certainly. Go ahead.
Okay. It was just about the future creating the present. And so the question, I know Lazarus has said the reason the reason why the ego becomes negative is because we don't choose a future and we default back to the past. And then the ego can't create that. And of course, it can only create what the past is, becomes negative through the shame, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm sure everybody knows that.
Well, actually, we'll tell you what makes the ego go negative. So the ego is the self-I.
Right.
And it is intended to deliver what's so, the information of what's so, what's a fact.
Okay.
So you said some words, Raina said some words, and that's all. That's the
Right.
facts. The meaning comes from other aspects of self. The meaning comes from within you. That you wanted to give Raina the opportunity to ask a question. And so you checked again. Do you want to ask? And she said, no, thank you. And so that meaning, well, it doesn't mean anything other than what so. But there might be, if the ego is made to answer what the meaning is, And the ego is not intended ever to give meaning. The meaning comes from the inner self. But when the ego's left to make meaning, then it can only reference the past. It can only look to see, well, what's in the past that I can help make sense of this scenario? Well, John's really being pushy. He shouldn't have asked her a second time. That would be one possibility.
Right.
Coming from a past of well, somebody got upset with you for pushing them to do something they didn't want to do or whatever. We're really creating a scenario here. It's not a real one.
Yes, I understand.
But that's an example of, rather than staying in the future creates the present, while the opportunity to ask a question is part of the event. And then asking others to, after the list has been completed, asking others, well, that's just so, isn't it? And there's nothing else to make it mean. So there's nothing to put on Raina for not feeling comfortable at this time to bring up whatever topic she's working on. She can work with us another time,
right,
separately from the Monday evening.
Right.
So there's, but if there's a judgment about it, oh, well, what's happening? Should we be concerned? Is it not safe? Is it dangerous to ask questions? Is it too vulnerable? Is it too intimate? So that's all meaning that's coming automatically from whoever's making it up.
Okay. Yeah.
The meaning itself isn't the problem. It's important to understand, oh, I'm giving the meaning. Am I giving the meaning from me, the more, who's connected to higher self, who's connected to soul and spirit and God, goddess, who has a future in mind, an optimal future in mind, who's expanding and growing? Or am I in a constricting energy of fear, of doubt, of worry? And if so, then I'm bringing meaning from the past, because those constrictions don't exist in the future. They exist in the past. And that's really critical for each of you as you're pivoting into, well, what do I want instead? Well, clearly your answer is not going to be a negative. You're not going to go from one negative into a different negative. You're going to go from a negative of what you don't want into what you do want, a positive. So as you begin to understand that, oh, the negative that I'm experiencing right now and my interpretation of it and what the impact it is on me is all coming from what's known, from my past, from my present and my past, of what I know. And we've defined that, in a sense, when it's negative, as the lesser self, who's trying to survive reality, who only has limited tools, strategies from the child, strategies from the adolescent, a negative ego, an ego that went negative because it was required to not just say what's so right now, but to also add meaning and context. And that's the job of the inner self. Does that help?
It does. So,
and the quickest way out of it is to just say, what do I want instead? That is such a quick, efficient way to shift the energy, to take responsibility, to reinstall choice. Because before that, you're really, in a sense, a victim. You're a victim of reality. You don't know you create it anymore. You are avoiding the domination of a future that hasn't happened yet, that you fear, that you worry, that you doubt about. And how do you know that you should fear, doubt, and worry? Well, it looks just like what I just had. That's how you know it's the past. So all there is to do is to pivot, is to just say, what do I want instead that's positive? You don't even have to add that's positive, because why would you want another negative? So it's already inferred. When I reach for a future I want, it's going to be positive. And now you can add, well, what would I like that is most positive? What would represent a me that has shifted into a positive? Does that help?
Yes, very good. That explains it. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. And that's important information, because you can easily get caught up in the complaining. It's not for no reason. It's just revealing that you're frustrated and you are lacking a future, and that you're looking at the past as for answers. A very normal, natural thing to do, because those are the pathways that have been established. The neurology is built to work with what's so and what has been. You're building new neurology that has you really actualize that the future is creating the present against a backdrop of the past. Now, you've known that concept for years, but actually living it as a mindset, as a way of being, as an automatic, that's new for many of you. You're building that pathway. You're making that map for your world. And so as you recognize, okay, my default is going to be cause and effect. It's going to be wherever the consensus is right now. The pushing against, the anticipation of domination. I got to avoid it. That's what's normal, quote unquote. That's consensus. So in order to not be impacted by that, you have to step out of it into a new neurology, a new pathway. And that's asking, what do I want instead? I want to desire, imagine, and expect something new. And oftentimes, new really does mean doesn't yet exist, perhaps even in your world. And that can be disorienting a little bit, because when you go to share with somebody who's deeply entrenched in the consensus, they don't know what you're talking about. And so we have this group, and there are other groups where you get to share your dreams, your visions, and who you're becoming, where it's normal to do that. We're creating that map together with you, so that when you go out in the world, you come from that sense of, I can share who I am. I can't share it in every environment, but I'm building the neurology. I'm building that sense of safety. And when it becomes my normal, the world will have shifted. Does that help?
Indeed, it does. And I can see that, like in Helen's case, some of those solutions she can't even imagine yet. It's outside of the imagination. She can imagine having a solution, but the solutions have to come from the unknown.
It's currently considered, as you know, because it's been over a year since the original event happened. You need a solution to a solutionless problem, as Lazarus has referred to it. So that means reaching into the imaginal realm, creating something from nothing, from something new, from energies that don't yet exist, going to your light shadow, inviting your light shadow to gift you with energies so that you can dream the solutions. So it is complex, and it's beautiful, and it's who you're becoming. So the world's excited about AI. We're excited about you and the maps you're making. Because what you are doing as map maker magicians is remarkable, is worth being here for. All right. And on that note, we go with love and peace.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Flash
Thank you,
everywhere.
Tara.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you,
Thank
Tara.
you.
Thank you, Tara.
Good night.
Thank you, Tara.
Thanks, everybody.